Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Elizabeth Holmes, and today's deep dive conversation is with Paul Spey. We're talking about Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley officially announcing his run for North Carolina's U.S. Senate seat. Paul, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me back.
Now, this comes after Thom Tillis announced he would not seek re-election last month. I think that's a good starting place because that really paved the way for all of this to happen. Give us some background on that announcement, that decision. Where did it come from?
Right. It was a bit of a surprise because Tillis has held the seat since 2015. He beat the late Democrat Kay Hagan in the 2014 election. And incumbents are always assumed to have an advantage in the upcoming election. Well, you know, Tillis, he was a party favorite back after he left the State House of Representatives, where he, passed a bunch of Republican priorities. He gets to Washington, he is in the good graces, and then Trump comes along. And he sort of stuck out as among the first few Republicans to speak out against some of Trump's plans. And that did not endear him to the Republican base. You know, I believe it was Trump's first term when Tillis spoke out against using military funding to use on a border wall. And then later, Tillis worked across the aisle to secure same-sex marriage rights federally if Obergefell, the Supreme Court case, were to ever be overturned. The base did not like that either. So in 2023, he was censured by the state Republican Party. Now, that doesn't really mean much. That doesn't mean he still gets to stay in Washington, but it sort of puts him on notice, like, hey, man, you're on probation here. Don't step out of line too much anymore. Well, the big, beautiful bill comes around this year. Tillis says he can't support it because it would ultimately kick hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians off Medicaid. And that was it. He was already on thin ice. Then Trump posted on social media that, hey, I'm going to look for new people. The next day, Tillis drops out.
And we immediately saw some names pop up, both on the Republican side, on the Democratic side. And one of those names is Michael Whatley, the Republican National Committee Chair. Who is Michael Whatley, for people who don't recognize that name?
Right. He's never run for office before, but he is the chairman of the Republican National Committee. That's the biggest committee that the Republicans have. He served in that role for about a year and a half now, and before that, he was chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, and was fairly successful in the minds of many Republican strategists. That's because he helped Trump carry the state in 2020. He helped the Republicans take control of the state Supreme Court in 2022 and win that U.S. Senate race. When Richard Burr left, he was the longtime Republican senator. He helped Ted Budd, who was a congressman at the time, defeat Democrat Sherry Beasley. So he had a strong record leading the state party. Prior to that, he got the job as leader of the state party because he was known as one of the first North Carolina Republicans in the state to support Trump, even back in 2015 and 2016, before it was obvious that Trump would be the future of the Republican Party. And so he gets a lot of credit for that from not only the base, but from Trump, who I believe has posted something to the effect of, Whatley's always been with me. He's been with me from the start. That goes a long way with our president.
Why is he running for U.S. Senate? What is his platform?
We don't know much about it right now. We know what he said today in his announcement, that he's going to support President Trump's agenda. He comes out as sort of an alternative to Tillis. Tillis opposed the big, beautiful bill. Whatley says has been a defender of it and says, hey, it cut taxes. It's doing other things for the economy. He's basically going to be, a rubber stamp for Trump. And a lot of people see that as a good thing. Now, there may be some people in the middle or on the other side that don't think that's a good thing. But Whatley is someone that the party can rely on. That's what he is running on. He's saying, hey, my priorities are the same as Trump's: crime, immigration, the economy, and Trump, Mr. Trump, you have my vote. And so that's what he's going to campaign on.
All right, we'll take a quick break. All right, we're back. More questions about other Republicans joining him in this race. Who is he up against on that side of things?
Right. So there are two other candidates. One is Don Brown. He's an attorney from Waxhaw. The other is Andy Nilsson. He's a high school football coach in Winston-Salem. They both run for office before. They didn't win, but they've run before. And today I reached out to them and asked, like, hey, what does Whatley's news mean for you? And they said, oh, we're not going anywhere. They think they can still win. And the reason for that is they've sort of cast Whatley as an establishment candidate. You know, a lot of people don't like being told what to do, right? And so they're counting on Republican voters being a little offended that they're being told who to vote for, right? You know, because Trump comes out and endorses Whatley, and some people get the impression that that's that. Well, Brown and Nilsson say, like, hey, we've been around. You know, we live in this state. You know, we're talking to regular folks. We're going to the county Republican Party, you know, luncheons and pancake breakfasts and stuff like that. Whatley, you know, his main job has been in Washington. And so they're going to try to, you know, benefit from that contrast there. Whether or not it works sort of remains to be seen. I mean, there's something to be said about people not coming from outside of politics, much like Trump did back in 2015, and they certainly pointed that out. But, you know, Whatley, being the fundraiser that he is, being familiar with North Carolina's political apparatus like he is, and having Trump's endorsement, he'll certainly be hard to beat.
Well, a big name that he's going up against is former Governor Roy Cooper. That announcement came recently. How does that make this race all the more interesting?
Well, a lot of people are describing it as a race between two heavyweights. Here you have a guy in Michael Whatley who is, you know, his main job has been raising money for the Republican Party and organizing its resources, like knowing where to send the party's money, knowing how to spend it, whether it's on poll watchers, on attorneys, on get out the vote efforts, things like that. And so he has a record of winning. And so that's interesting. He's like sort of like a master strategist, right? And then you have Cooper, who's never lost a race, like ever. Not when he was governor, not when he was attorney general, not when he was a state legislator. And Cooper is seen as more of a polished candidate. You know, people have seen him, you know, sort of grow up in North Carolina from the legislature to the highest realms. Even when he was governor, he became chair of the Democratic Governors Association, and he helped Democrats across the country win. And so they both know how to win. They've done it in different ways. Cooper's been at the forefront of a campaign as the face, as someone who has to answer the questions and run and shake hands and take the scrutiny. Whatley's been a behind-the-scenes guy. So, it'll be a fascinating race. And because the race is so important, nationally, Democrats are trying to win 4 seats so they can regain the U.S. Senate. And this is the only toss-up race. We expect to see millions, maybe record-breaking amounts of money just in our state going to advertising on TV, on the internet, everything. We're going to be at the epicenter of everything next year.
It's funny that you bring that up because my next question for you was going to be your reaction to a political scientist at Catawba College, Michael Bitzer, saying U.S. Senate races in North Carolina break the bank every year. Quote, I think this one is going to burn the bank down.
It probably will. And because, Democrats, if they can't win North Carolina, they're going to have a hard time not only retaking the Senate in 2026, but even in 2028, when even more seats are on the ballot. And for Republicans, they have a guy in Whatley who's never been the candidate before. He'll probably need that extra help, right? Like while he's been behind the scenes saying like, hey, to donors, like, hey, spend your money on this candidate, spend it on Ted Budd, or spend it on one of the state Supreme Court candidates, or spend it on President Trump. That's what he said when he was at the RNC. That's easy to do. It may be a little harder when it's, hey, spend your money on me. They might say, well, hold on a second. We want to see you. Let's see you in front of some supporters. Let's see you in front of cameras, when you go talk to people at the diners, how all these candidates always, go out and talk to real people and there's a camera around. They may want to see him in action. And so, I think it's fair to say that this could be a record-breaking race. not only because of the implications in the U.S. Senate, but because Cooper especially is just considered so hard to beat. And Republicans will certainly put their weight behind Whatley because it'll take a lot. Tillis even said that the other day, earlier this week, talking to reporters. He was saying that Republicans need to run as if they're behind because come this time next year, they might be.
Last question. For the average North Carolinian who has maybe never tapped into politics before, why should they care about this?
Well, that's a great question. And, I can't tell people what their priorities should be. If they don't think it's up to the candidates to tell voters why they should care, right? I think they should care. And I got into this business because I think it's fascinating to learn how our government works. And so the next election is going to be about the big, beautiful bill, what's in it, and what it means for the country. Now, Democrats are going to say, hey, look at what Republicans took away. They took Medicaid benefits away from hundreds of thousands of people, and they did that to pay for tax breaks for the rich. Now, on the other side, Republicans are going to say, hey, this boosts ICE, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that will help crack down on immigration and potentially crime. And they say, look at the economy now. They say it's in pretty good shape. That's what Trump ran on. And so if you're a voter, you have to decide just what your priorities are. And often it comes down to personalities as well. There's this whole debate on, do people vote for people or do they vote for parties? One interesting thing about Roy Cooper is that he's been successful in elections even when Donald Trump won. And that was true in 2016. That was true in 2020. And it's sort of a phenomenon here in North Carolina, but it's been true for decades that people split their ticket. They will vote in federal elections, historically, for Republicans. We haven't had a Democratic U.S. senator since 2008. And just historically, we've had more Republicans. But at the state level, for positions like governor, attorney general, secretary of state, auditor for many years, and others, it's been Democratic. And that's just sort of a weird quirk of the Tar Heel state is that people are willing to split their ballots. So it'll be really interesting to see whether or not Cooper can be the first Democrat in years to win a statewide federal race.
Cork, indeed. All right, Paul. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. If you've listened to this podcast on WRAL.com or the WRAL News app, you can also find it in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Follow the show so you don't miss an episode.